The Cursed Pact of the Nile Mermaid. Khamis, the man broken by hunger. In a small village by the Nile, a man named Khamis lived in crushing poverty. Every day he fished, hoping to catch enough to feed his sick mother and starving siblings. But the river seemed to curse him. His nets always came up empty. With an empty stomach and a heavy heart, he looked up at the sky. "Why me?" he whispered, tears brimming in his eyes. Night fell. He cast his net one last time, and suddenly, a powerful force yanked him toward the water. Something, or someone. His heart skipped a beat, and then he saw her. The mermaid with golden eyes. A woman with long black hair floated on the surface. Her skin was smooth like polished stone. Her golden eyes glowed like molten fire. A mermaid. She stared at him and smiled softly. "You have suffered, Khamis." Her voice was gentle, enchanting, almost motherly. "I can change everything." Khamis could barely breathe. "Change? How?" he stammered. She moved closer, her cold fingers brushing his arm. "I can give you fish as much as you want. Your family will never know hunger again." Hope flickered in his eyes. "And in return?" he asked, his throat dry. The mermaid chuckled softly. "Oh, just a small promise. Nothing important." Silence stretched between them. A promise of what? Her golden eyes locked onto his. "When the time comes, you will give me something in return." Nothing more. A simple exchange. His stomach ached with hunger. His mother coughed blood. His siblings cried at night. It was a deal he could not refuse. All right. And so, the pact was sealed. Khamis rise to fortune. The next morning, his nets overflowed with fish. He had never seen so many. Day after day, the fish came in abundance. His name spread across the village. He was the blessed man of the Nile. His marriage was arranged. His house was rebuilt. His mother wept with joy. He was happy. But in the shadows of the river, something waited. "My son, something is wrong." One night, as he returned home with his arms full, his mother stopped him at the door. "Khamis, I can no longer sleep." Her gaze was empty, haunted. "I hear a voice calling to me at night." Khamis's smile faltered. "You're just tired, Mama, that's all." She took his face in her trembling hands. "My son, what have you done?" He gently pulled away. "Nothing, Mama." But deep inside, a cold fear began to grow. The mermaid returns. That night, he heard it. A song, soft as a whisper. A chill ran down his spine. He turned around and she was there, floating on the water, her golden eyes gleaming in the dark. "Khamis, it is time." His heart pounded. "Time for what?" She smiled, tilting her head, and said softly, "Give me your mother." A freezing wind rushed into his lungs. "No. You're joking." "Have I ever joked, Khamis?" The Nile rumbled beneath her words. He wanted to run. He wanted to flee. But the pact could not be broken. The price of the pact. He ran inside the house. "Mama, wake up!" But she was already standing. Her eyes were hollow, as if an invisible hand was pulling her toward the river. "No, no." He grabbed her, held her tightly. "Mama, I'm sorry." She lifted a trembling hand and caressed his face. "My son, why did you do this?" A tear rolled down her cheek. Then she walked toward the water. Khamis screamed. She didn't stop. He followed, grasped her. But an unseen force was pulling her. She cast one last look at him, a look of love, of forgiveness. Then the water swallowed her, and he never saw her again. The curse of Khamis. From that day on, Khamis became a shadow. His wealth meant nothing. At night he wandered the banks of the Nile, calling for his mother, weeping for his mistake. They say that fishermen who come near the river on certain nights still hear his cries. Others claim that a mermaid with golden eyes still waits for another desperate man, willing to make a deal. The end. Moral of the story: what the water gives, the water takes away.